Okay, welcome back to the Screeps tutorial walkthrough. We are on step 3, building structures, and let's get right into it. So the controller upgrade gives access to some new structures, walls, ramparts, and extensions. We'll discuss walls and ramparts in the next section, but for now let's talk about extensions. So extensions are required to allow you to build larger creeps, and a creep with only one body part of one type works poorly, so we want to give our creeps lots of work parts, lots of carry parts. They'll work more efficiently. But creeps with more parts cost more, and then to be able to create those creeps, we need the extensions to allow us to do it. The second controller level has 5 extensions. Yes, so we reached controller level 2, and now we're allowed to build 5 extensions, which will increase our energy capacity in our room to build larger creeps. And then so the number of extensions you can build increases each time you reach a new controller level. Okay, and to build our extensions, we need a creep that knows how to build structures. So that's what they're having us do here. So we're going to spawn a creep, and we're going to call it builder, and right in the creation of this creep, we're going to set its role in memory as a builder. So go to console, paste it in, hit enter, and our spawn is now creating our builder creep. Right, so we've spawned our creep. It's not doing anything yet because we haven't written the code that runs our builder creep. So as before, we're going to create another module file. This one we're going to call role.builder, and this is going to hold all of the code for our builder creep. It says, to avoid having the creep run back and forth too often, but to make it deplete its cargo, let's complicate our logic by creating a new Boolean value, creep.memory.building. So this creep's going to have 2 things in its memory. And that'll tell the creep when to switch tasks. We're also going to use creep.say and visualize path style, and these will help us to see what exactly the creep is doing, so we can kind of watch its logic being executed on the screen. So first we'll just copy paste all this code into a new module. Role.builder, place it, and before I commit it, let's look at this code and see what it's doing first. Alright, so when it runs, we're going to get a reference to our creep. If the creep memory building property is true, and if our creep doesn't have any energy, we're going to make sure that our building flag is set to false on that creep. And then we're also going to say harvest, so you'll see there's a little bubble that comes out of the creep that will say harvest and show this little icon. This will help us recognize when our creep is changing states, basically. So then if our creep is not building, but it's full of energy, well, that's a good time to go and build something. So we'll set the building flag to true, and we'll announce that we're going to go build something. So now the logic that's actually going to run our creep's actions. So if we want to build something, it's going to find a construction site. That's what this line is doing here. And the find function, it's going to return an array of construction sites. So that's all going to be in the targets. And so if we have more than 0 targets, so we can check that by checking the length, then we want to go move to that target. So it's going to try to build it. And you don't need to be right next to construction sites to build them, just a few spaces. I think it's 3 spaces away. We're going to try to build it first, but if we're too far away, we get this error not in range returned by build. Then we're going to move to the target. And then we're giving it a little bit of extra information here, our move to call, so that we can see what path our creep is planning on taking to get to that target. But if we're not in the building state, we're going to go into our else, and that means we need energy. So just like before, we're going to find our sources. And then we're just going to go to the first source, try to harvest it. If we're not in range, let's move to that source. And again, we're going to visualize the path so we can see where our creep plans on going. So we'll save that. And then of course we need to update our main function to execute this role. So I copied that. I'm replacing all that code with the code that they gave us. And this is just like before. We get a reference to our builder code from the module file, and then we are checking the role within memory on each creep, and then running the appropriate code. Let me move this down so you can see what it's doing. Here's our builder creep. There it is. It needs to harvest some energy from our source first, and it's going to keep doing that until it's full. And then once the creep energy reaches the carry capacity, it's going to announce that it's going to start building, and it's going to create a new path. It's going to follow that path until it gets within range of the construction site. And when it is, it's going to start building that construction site. And you can see this little green indicator of how close it is to completing that construction site. All right, and so our first extension is built. It has no energy within it yet, so one of our other creeps is going to need to fill it with energy. And our builder creep is going back to harvest more energy so that it can continue to fulfill its role of building these construction sites. And one thing you can do when you're in the simulator but not in the actual game is you can speed this up so it doesn't take quite as long. That's over here on the right. You can pause it if it's going too fast for you, or play it. And you can also increase the speed. So let's go 2 ticks per second so we get to where we want to be a little faster. All right, our extensions have been built. We'll go ahead and pause our execution of our creeps while we do this next step. Yes, so now that we have extensions, we need to fill them with energy before we can actually use them to spawn larger creeps. So we're going to update our harvester code here. And likely, we're going to be telling it to fill not only the spawn, but also our extensions with energy. Let's go over to harvester, select all, replace the entire code with the code they gave us. Let's take a peek at it first. So just like before, if we don't have energy, it's going to go to the source. It's going to try to harvest some energy. Of course, if we can't harvest because it's not in range, it's going to move to it. But if our creep is full of energy, it's going to find somewhere to drop it off at. So before, we just had the spawn. It was really straightforward. We just go to the spawn and drop it off there. But now there's much more complicated code here to find a structure to drop it off at. So again, we're using this find method, and this is one that you'll definitely want to look up in the documentation because there's a lot of moving parts here and lots of different ways that you can search for things within a room. So we want to find structures, and then from all of the structures in the room, we're going to filter them down to just the extensions and the spawns. And we also only want the ones that aren't already full on energy, so that's what this part of the filter is doing here. And then if we're able to find any targets, that's any extensions or spawns that aren't full on energy, our creep is going to try to transfer energy to it or move to it if it's not in range. So let's save that. To know the total amount of energy in the room, you can use the property room energy available. Let's add the output of this property into the console in order to track it during the filling of extensions. Okay, so they want us to update our main module code. Replaced it, and they just added this console.log call, and it's just going to announce, once every tick, how much energy is available in the room to spawn a larger creep. So let's save that, and let's run our creeps again. And while this is running, we'll check the console tab, and you can see that each tick, it is outputting which room we're in and how much energy we have available for creating new creeps. Our builder creep, of course, is not doing anything because there are no construction sites to build. But our harvester creep is going about its business and filling all of these spawns. Or extensions, I should say. So each extension can hold 50 energy, at this controller level anyway. As you go up in room controller level, the capacity increases. But it's pretty handy right now. Our capacity is 50 energy in each extension, and our creep has a carry capacity of 50 also. So each trip is going to fill one extension. Alright, we've just about got it now. Our room has 500 energy available in it, and our last extension is about to be filled up from our creep. Excellent, all the structures are filled with energy, and so now we can build a much larger creep. So what we're going to do here is we're going to spawn a harvester creep still, but it's going to have a much larger body, so it's going to harvest much faster. And you can see that from the body composition statement here. It's got 4 work parts, which is going to allow it to harvest energy faster. So copy that, paste it into our console, and you see we spent all of our energy to create this new massive creep. Our existing harvester is going to go about its business refilling the spawn, but this new harvester is going to do the same thing much faster. Alright, it wants us to click on the new harvester. In the right panel, we can now see that the capacity is the same because we only have 1 carry part on it, but it is harvesting energy 4 times faster because we have 4 work parts on it. And so by upgrading your controller, that's going to allow you to build more extensions, which allows you to build more powerful creeps, which are more efficient and work faster. So instead of having a lot of really small creeps, you end up with just a few large ones, and that'll save you on CPU, which is a resource you need to pay attention to as you progress in the game. And it's also just going to help you gain controller levels and harvest energy a lot faster. And so that's the end of section 3 of the tutorial, building structures. And in the next video, we'll do section 4, the auto spawning of creeps.